Well, happy. Okay, happy's relative, right? If it's fulfilling, if it's rewarding. I also believe in putting yourself in uncomfortable positions.
Fame and love have never been kind companions, but when your name is Brad Pitt, every glance, every hand held, and every whisper becomes global news. For decades, his romances have filled magazines and gossip columns, but behind the glossy headlines lies a story far more tender, vulnerable, and human. The truth is that Brad's journey through love wasn't simply about the red carpets or the wedding rings. It was about the search for something that could outlast the spotlight. And after all these years, he has finally confessed the name of the woman who never left his heart. Before Brad Pitt became a household name, he was simply a young actor trying to find his place in Hollywood, and love played a big role in shaping who he would become. One of his earliest relationships was with British pop star Sunita in the mid-1980s. They dated for about 2 years, long before the world knew his face. Sunita would later call him beautiful, with a body like a Greek statue. She described him as fun, sweet, and innocent, but admitted she didn't realize what she had until much later. When Brad shot to fame after Thelma and Louise, she confessed that she thought, "Oh my God, what have I done?" It was an early heartbreak, but one that gave Brad a sense of how fleeting young love could be. After Sunita came actress Jill Schoelen, whom Brad met on the set of the horror film Cutting Class. Brad was smitten enough to propose, but Jill ended up falling for the film's director and broke it off. Brad was left devastated, realizing love could collapse in an instant. These early romances weren't just background noise in Brad's rise to fame. They revealed a vulnerability in him, a hunger for something lasting, even before he had the career to match it. In those days, Brad wasn't yet the global star he would become, but he was already learning that love could leave scars, even when the world wasn't watching. These experiences shaped the way he approached relationships later, passionately, wholeheartedly, and always with the hope that this time, it might last. It was the beginning of a journey through love that would become as famous as his movies and as complicated as the man himself. By the late 80s, Brad's career was slowly gaining traction, and with it came more chances to fall in love. After Jill, he briefly dated actress Shalane McCall and then found himself with voice actress E.G. Daily. E.G. described Brad as soulful, intense, and driven, an actor who carried a deep sense of ambition that made even casual conversations feel weighty. She called him super cute, but what struck her most was his almost spiritual drive for something bigger than himself. Their relationship was brief, but unlike many Hollywood flings, they stayed friends afterward. That ability to stay close, even after love ended, would become a pattern in Brad's life. Around the same time, he grew close to actress Robin Givens during her separation from Mike Tyson. That connection brought chaos. Tyson later claimed he caught Brad and Robin together, even saying he once found them in bed. Robin denied the story, clarifying years later that Brad was simply a friend. But by then, the tabloids had already run wild. Brad was learning that fame magnified everything, turning even whispers into headlines. In 1989, he attended the MTV Movie Awards with Christina Applegate. They were seen as a cute couple until, shockingly, Christina ditched him mid-show for another guy. The embarrassment was public, and Brad quietly endured it. These short-lived romances painted a picture of a man constantly searching for depth, even as Hollywood tried to cast him as the pretty face. Each woman described him with warmth, sweet, intense, loyal, but the relationships never lasted. Brad was restless, always searching for more, always wanting to build something real. These years were full of lessons, heartbreaks, and humiliations, but they also laid the foundation for the passionate, vulnerable way he would later love when the whole world was watching. Then came Juliette Lewis, a relationship that proved Brad was capable of real depth, even under scrutiny. They met while working on Too Young to Die in 1989. Juliette was only 16 when they started dating, while Brad was in his mid-20s, but their bond was immediate. Over the next 4 years, they worked together on films like California, becoming one of the most talked about couples of the early 90s. Theirs wasn't just a fling, It was an intense partnership where art and love blurred together. Brad later reflected on the relationship with deep respect. In a 1995 interview, he said, "I still love the woman. There's some real genius there. I had a great time with her. It was one of the greatest relationships I've ever been in." That level of honesty, years after the breakup, showed how deeply she impacted him. Juliet, on the other hand, struggled with the constant spotlight. By 2014, she admitted she wished people would move on from talking about her past with Brad, saying, "I'm 40. I quit all my bulls at 22. There is growth. Get out of the past." For her, their love was real, but belonged to another time. Still, what they shared shaped Brad's understanding of what love could be: raw, imperfect, but undeniably powerful. Their romance proved that he wasn't interested in superficial connections. He wanted intensity, honesty, and partnership. Juliet gave him that, and though it didn't last, it was one of the first relationships that showed Brad as more than a rising star. He was a man capable of loving deeply and risking heartbreak in the process. Their time together set the stage for the kind of consuming relationships that would define the rest of his life. But if Juliette Lewis was intense, Gwyneth Paltrow was a fairy tale come alive. They met on the set of C7 On in 1995, where she played his wife on screen, and off screen, their chemistry blossomed into something that felt unstoppable. Brad publicly declared her the love of his life during his Golden Globe speech in 1996, calling her his angel. Fans adored them, and they quickly became Hollywood's perfect couple. In December 1996, Brad proposed in Argentina, and Gwyneth later recalled being thrilled and surprised, despite their earlier talks of engagement. The ring, the romance, the way they gazed at each other on red carpets. It all felt like destiny. Yet, in 1997, they called it off. Gwyneth later admitted she was too young, too immature to handle such a commitment, though her father, Bruce Paltrow, was heartbroken by the split. Even after it ended, their affection lingered. In later years, Brad told her in an interview, "It's lovely to have you as a friend now." Gwyneth admitted it had been love at first sight, and even decades later, she looked back on the relationship with tenderness. For Brad, Gwyneth was a symbol of purity and possibility, someone he truly thought could be forever. Their breakup left him shaken but wiser, teaching him that even great love couldn't always overcome timing. It was a romance that showed Brad at his most open, most vulnerable, and most ready to risk it all for love. And though it ended, the memories lingered, haunting him in ways only first true heartbreaks can. Gwyneth wasn't just another Hollywood fling, she was the one who almost was, and her shadow remained long after the relationship ended. By the late 90s, Brad Pitt's life changed forever when he crossed paths with Jennifer Aniston. Though they first met in 1994 through their managers, sparks didn't fly until 1998. By then, Brad had ended his engagement with Gwyneth, and Jennifer was newly single. Their first date was simple, filled with laughter and ease. From that night forward, something clicked. In September 1999, they stepped out publicly at the Emmy Awards, holding hands and dazzling the cameras. A few months later, during a Sting concert, they announced their engagement. By July 2000, they married in Malibu in a lavish ceremony that felt like Hollywood royalty sealing a fairy tale. With 200 guests, 50,000 flowers, and fireworks over the ocean, their wedding was unforgettable. Jennifer wore a silk and satin gown, while Brad looked like the perfect groom. Together, they weren't just a couple, they were the golden standard of love in Hollywood. Fans adored their every red carpet appearance, their coordinated looks, and even their professional collaboration when Brad guest starred on Friends. They launched Plan B Entertainment together, proving they were more than glamorous faces. They were partners in life and business. For a few years, they embodied stability in a world known for fleeting romances. Their smiles seemed effortless, their bond unshakable, yet cracks soon began to show. In 2003, Jennifer hesitated when asked if Brad was the love of her life, admitting she wasn't sure. Still, she called him a great love. By 2004, she openly dreamed of starting a family, speaking about slowing down her career to have children. But Hollywood pressure, conflicting schedules, and Brad's evolving restlessness weighed on them. In January 2005, they shocked the world with a joint statement announcing their separation after 7 years together. The news sent shockwaves through fans who believed they were unbreakable. The split between Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston marked the end of Hollywood's brightest fairy tale, but the story was far from quiet. The media frenzy turned their separation into a global spectacle. Every magazine cover speculated, every photograph dissected. When photos of Brad with Angelina Jolie surfaced from Kenya later that year, the headlines exploded. Suddenly, Jennifer was painted as the heartbroken wife, and Brad as the man stolen away by temptation. Both denied the narrative, insisting their split was thoughtful and mutual. Still, the public wanted drama, and a love triangle was born. Jennifer later admitted the breakup cracked her open emotionally, forcing her to feel raw grief while the world watched. She described it as painful, yet also a strange opening of the soul. Brad, meanwhile, stepped into a new chapter with Angelina, but the shadow of Jennifer lingered. She gave an emotional interview to Vanity Fair in 2005, reflecting on the loss. "There are many stages of grief," she said. "It cracks you open in a way. I wish it wasn't in front of the world." She added that seeing Brad's pictures with Angelina wasn't easy, but she tried to rise above it. While tabloids obsessed over betrayal, Jennifer refused to let her life be defined by one relationship, insisting she would move forward with dignity. Brad, too, later spoke kindly of Jennifer, saying they maintained a deep friendship even after their split. Still, their divorce signaled the end of an era. Fans felt robbed of the couple they thought would last forever, and Jennifer became a symbol of resilience for millions of women navigating heartbreak. The public grief was real, but behind closed doors, Brad's heart was already moving toward a new kind of love, one that would change him even more. When Brad met Angelina Jolie on the set of Mr. and Mrs. Smith in 2003, he was still married, yet their chemistry was undeniable. Both later insisted nothing happened until Brad's marriage ended, but the spark was immediate. Angelina described their time working together as unexpectedly joyful. They bonded while performing dangerous stunts, sharing laughs, and realizing they had become a team. For Angelina, the shift came slowly. She found herself looking forward to work each day, surprised by the feelings growing inside her. By January 2005, Brad and Jennifer had separated, and Angelina was already a mother to Maddox and Zahara. That same year, Brad formally adopted the children, and by 2006, the family name became Jolie Pitt. Their bond wasn't just romantic, it was familial. Angelina announced she was pregnant with their first biological child, and in May 2006, Shiloh was born. The Jolie Pitt clan grew quickly, adopting Pax in 2007 and welcoming twins Knox and Vivian in 2008. Their family became a global fascination. Together, Brad and Angelina traveled the world, working on films, raising children, and advocating for humanitarian causes. They became Hollywood's most glamorous power couple, admired for their passion and their devotion to family. By 2012, their children urged them to marry, and 2 years later, they wed at their estate in France in a ceremony filled with laughter and the children's artwork sewn into Angelina's dress. Yet behind the fairy tale, tensions brewed. By 2016, the marriage collapsed. Angelina filed for divorce, citing the family's health and well-being. Allegations of conflict on a private plane made headlines, though Brad denied ever harming his children. After years of legal battles, they were declared single in 2019, but the divorce wasn't fully finalized until 2024. It was a love story that burned bright, created a beautiful family, and then crumbled under the weight of reality. The dream that once looked unshakable between Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie eventually turned into one of Hollywood's most publicized breakups. Their marriage, once admired for its blend of glamour and family devotion, began to unravel behind closed doors. On September 20th, 2016, Angelina filed for divorce, citing the health of the family. Her rep released a statement asking for privacy, but that was impossible. This was Brad and Angelina, the couple known worldwide as Brangelina. News quickly spread that something dramatic had happened on a private jet. Reports claimed an altercation between Brad and one of their children had escalated into physical conflict. Brad denied harming any of his kids, and while both the Los Angeles Department of Child and Family Services and the FBI investigated, no charges were filed. Still, the whispers lingered, and the family's image shifted overnight. For Brad, it was devastating. He admitted in later interviews that he turned to alcohol during that time, using it as a crutch while his family fractured. He eventually sought help, joining Alcoholics Anonymous, and beginning what he called a process of repair and self-reflection. Angelina, on the other hand, focused on protecting the children, moving them through the divorce while continuing her humanitarian work. Their legal battles stretched for years, entangling custody rights and financial disputes. In April 2019, a judge declared them legally single, but the final custody and financial agreements weren't settled until December 2024. Even now, their fight over Chateau Miraval, the winery they once shared, remains unresolved. The fairy tale that began on a movie set ended in courts, headlines, and heartbreak. What started as passion and laughter had turned into a lesson in how love can be consumed by pressure, fame, and irreconcilable differences. Brad Pitt's journey through love has been filled with passion, heartbreak, and lessons that still echo today. Yet one question lingers: who truly held his heart the longest? If you enjoyed diving into the story of Hollywood's most fascinating romances, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more untold celebrity stories.